All the guests in the room.
Sorry, man.
We'll get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right here, I will.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll get started this evening with the OPM update.
Okay, thank you. So I handed out a copy of it, but I'm also going to present it up here so you can follow along with whichever you want. Just a progress summary since we last met. We did submit the response to the preferred schematic report to MSBA. It was due on March 29th, and we did get that back to them in time. They reviewed that and accepted that as part of the submission. On April 10th, as you know, representatives from the district, Derek and Mike, along with the design team and ourselves, went to the board meeting in MSBA. At that meeting, they did approve the preferred schematic report and the C6 option, the new construction option, as recommended by the committee. So that allows us to go into schematic design now. They sent out the letter confirming that. I think Mike and Derek should have gotten copies of that, and I'm not sure if that letter has been distributed, but we have formally been told that the project's approved to go to schematic, and we can start that phase. Then on April 1st, we had a long meeting with Derek and his staff. We met with the pre-K, the K, first, second grade teachers. We met with BASE. We met with the library director. Met with the food service folks, the physical education teachers. We met with everybody. We went through the drawings with them. We took their feedback, their comments, and Jean and Steve went back, made some changes, adjustments to that. Also made some changes based on comments back from MSBA at the Facilities Assessment Group and their board meeting. And Steve is going to present those in his portion of the meeting tonight. Some of the schedule of milestones. So we are now officially in the schematic design phase. We're going to work to meet the MSBA deadline of July 10th to submit that package to MSBA. That will allow us to go to their Facilities Assessment Committee on either July 31st or August 7th. Again, that's just a preview and a review of the submission with the MSBA staff and a couple of members of their board. And it's a precursor to the MSBA board meeting, which is scheduled for August 28th. So that's our target, to go to the MSBA board on August 28th with a schematic design. It's at that meeting that we hopefully get the project scope and budget agreement approved. That's what locks us into the scope, the size of the building, the type of classrooms and spaces we're allowed, and also the budget for that, and locks in the site work. We will be able to change it slightly, but no whole scale or large changes after that, and the budget will be locked in at that time too.
You don't mind if I interrupt?
No.
You've done many of these, and I don't think any of us has sat through a building with the SBA and everything like that. Are these more pro forma, or do they raise substantive issues in July when we come back? Or?
It depends on the submission. And, hopefully, they have a checklist of exactly what they want in the schematic design submission, and we'll check that with these guys before it goes in. We have to do a full review.
But we know that July 10, and we're going to hit all those checks, right? As I keep saying all the time, and people are probably sick of me saying it, it's checking off boxes and giving it to the state and say, did we check off the right boxes? Mm-hmm. But if we get it in July, just give me the odds of not having it approved at the board meeting.
I would say they were slight.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. That's all I needed to know.
And that's why they have that Facilities Assessment Committee to meet with us and go through it, in person, so that by the time it gets to the board, it's been reviewed. They understand there's no substance.
Thank you.
And then, as we talked before, the local funding approval, we're going to look at doing that sometime in the fall of 2019. We have 120 days after the MSBA approval to secure that local funding. Our upcoming meetings, we went through this the last time. Tonight, we're going to review the MSBA budget form, the 3011 it's called, so I'll review that in a moment. We're going to look at the updated floor plans. We're going to look at the site, the landscaping and play areas with Chris. We have GGD here to look at the HVAC and electric systems. And finally, we're going to go back and take a last look at the lead checklist. The lead is the 2% reimbursement again, so we're going for lead on that, so we just got to make sure that we finalize that list. Then our next meeting was scheduled for May 7th. It's a Tuesday, so we're off schedule a little bit. At that meeting, we were going to propose looking at CMR versus DBB. That's construction manager at risk versus design bid build. Under the mass procurement laws, we have to procure this project under one of those, and I'll explain the differences at that meeting. We're also going to look at the site, landscape and play areas again. We're going to look at the civil and permitting, typo in there. We're going to look at traffic, and we're going to start to look at the building exteriors and the materials in the building at that one. Then on May 8th, we have to confirm that with the communications group, but we are looking at having a public meeting on May 8th at 9 a.m. in the morning, so that's to be confirmed. Moving on then, the next meeting will be May 20th, where we're going to look at the floor plans and the room data sheets. The room data sheets are where we start to look at the actual rooms, their layout, the furniture, where the teaching wall is, where we have space to hang stuff, and other things that are required in the classroom, in the different bedrooms, in the cafeteria, in the gym, all the rooms. We'll get a room data sheet to show the layout of there. We'll look at where the electrical outlets go and such things like that. We'll also review the building exteriors again. We'll take your comments from the previous meeting and include those. And then we're going to do a security review on May 20th. So that's going to be more than just cameras and motion sensors. We're going to look at the procedures, how people enter the building, how people exit the building, emergency procedures, and that. So that'll be May 20th. Following that May 20th meeting, we're hoping to release the documents to the estimators to start their schematic design estimates. So that will be the last time we get to, well, it won't be the last time, but it will lock in a lot of stuff that we're going to put in the estimate. So that will be a big meeting to attend on May 20th. Following that, again, to be confirmed, we're going to do a public meeting at 7 p.m. on May 23rd. The communications group is coordinating that. Then June 5th, we'll look at some of the FF&E stuff. We'll look at the reimbursement again. We've already looked at that before, but we'll revisit that, and we'll talk about schedule for this project, for the design, the rest of the design phase and the construction phase. And then June 17th, we'll come back, we'll present the construction costs and the overall project budget. And July 8th, we're hoping to get a local approval to submit the schematic design to the MSBA by their July 10th. Just an update on the project costs. As you know, our budget for the feasibility and schematic design is $800,000. Our reimbursement rate is 55.63%. To date, MSBA has reviewed propay number 1 to 4. We've submitted $293,804. We've gotten $159,313 back. They're currently reviewing propay number 5, which should be a substantial reimbursement, we hope, when they get that reviewed and back to us. And just to outline the budget then, we have our standard MSBA line items for the feasibility, the OPM, the architect and engineers, the environmental and site, and the other costs, so you can see what we've spent to date and what we have as a balance to finish. So we're still well on budget here, and there's no reason to think that we won't meet our budget under this phase. So just the 3011, the MSBA form. So I handed that out. That's that 11 by 17 handout you guys all have. So I'll go through it in a moment, but just some notes on it. This is the standard MSBA template for the budget. This is what will lock in the budget at the project scope and budget agreement and the project funding agreement. These are all standard line items in this, and it's used to calculate your total reimbursement and the maximum reimbursement that you'll get. As you can see on this, all the yellow cells in this spreadsheet are MSBA formulas. We cannot change any of those. So you can see it's a pretty involved spreadsheet. We cannot change any of these. We plug the numbers in where we're required, and spits out what your reimbursement will be. So it is pretty involved, and we'll go through it in a moment. Once we submit that as part of schematic design, there'll be some dialogue back and forth with MSBA on maybe something they think should not be reimbursable. We think there should be something reimbursable. An example of that, I think we talked about the makerspace before. We want to put a makerspace in there saying that's not a reimbursable expense. We'll go back and forth with them, and we'll lock this in before the board meeting in August. And then just, there's a column in there where we have to identify all the ineligibles. We talked a little bit about that, what's reimbursable, what's ineligible, and we'll do that again before we finalize this sheet at a future meeting. So just going through it, if you want to follow down, starting at the top there, it's pretty little hard to see, but on the left-hand column there, feasibility study, it's line item number 1. So that's the feasibility study we've been reporting. It's the 800,000. You can see all those costs are eligible pending review and audit by the MSBA. So we're working through that. Then we go to legal fees. Legal fees are always ineligible. So we had plugged $35,000 in for that. That would be an ineligible fee. Should we spend any of that money? Line item number 9 is the owner's project manager. I've just plugged a number in there for now, but we will break that out between design development, construction documents, bidding, construction administration, closeout, extra services, and reimbursement and cost estimates. So we'll put together a fee before we come to finalize this budget. Advertising, permitting, owner's insurance, and other admin costs, or just other costs that come up on this. We don't expect there'll be any owner's insurance. That sometimes comes in when you're renovating a building or when a building is occupied. The owner might take out the insurance, but in this case, we're going to have the contractor do it. Architecture and engineering, again, just I plugged a number in there for now. These are the numbers that we use at the PSR, so they shouldn't be any different to what you've seen. For the design services, and then down below on line number 35, we have some reimbursable expenses. We'll negotiate those and put those into RDA's contract before we finalize the budget for MSBA. CM and risk, that should be CM at risk, pre-construction services. If you don't have anything in there, we're assuming we're not going to do that, but we're going to talk about that at a future meeting. Site acquisition, land costs, appraisal fees recording, we don't have to do that. That will be not reimbursable if we did, but that's not applicable at this. Then from line item 49 all the way down to 97 are all the different construction costs. Again, these are from the PSR budget that we did for the C6 option, so it rolls down to the 65,962,536 budget that we presented at PSR. Alternates is something that we'll look at later on.
Shane,
Yep.
just to stop you there, we end up with the $16+ million overall excluded construction cost. That's essentially our share, right?
That's your share, yes. So
it's not really excluded. It's just that's the portion that the town is paying of the included costs.
Correct. That's so.
Yeah, just because someone's going to look at this and say there are $16 million of excluded costs that the town has to pick up, and that's not the case, right? It's just this is what we have to pick up because we're getting X percent reimbursement.
So how they work that out, Tim, is that's $333 per square foot is what they reimburse. So that represents the cost above that $333 per square foot.
Right. Thank you.
Alternates we'll look at later on. We don't need to put those in for the schematic now, although we may talk about some later on. Miscellaneous project costs. These are what we might go back and forth with MSBA on what they deem eligible and what they don't. We have some utility company fees. That's to bring in the gas service, to bring in the electric service, to bring in any communications. Testing services, that's for any testing that were required under the mass building code for soil, concrete, steel, and the likes of that. Swing space modulars, we don't expect to need any of that. That's all ineligible anyway. And then other project costs, we have an allowance in there for any other project costs that might come up over the life of the project. And the FF&E, I've just plugged in a number there. It's the number we presented before, the 2.46 million. We talked last time that MSBA will reimburse up to $2,400 per student. So that's $2,400 multiplied by 740 kids. So some of those are ineligible. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, come up with a better budget, show you how we come up with that number later on, and plug that in when we finalise that. So that brings us down to a project budget of 78,192,536. Below that, then we look at the contingencies. So if you go down to line 127, we have a construction contingency of 3.5 million, which is about 5% of the construction value. And line item 130 is the owner's contingency, so that's any unforeseens outside of that construction value, additional design fees, additional inspection fees, permitting fees, anything like that will come out of that line item. And that rolls all the way down to the total project budget of 82,152,536, which is what we reported previously. And that works out at an effective reimbursement, if you like, of the 41% there. Just going back up to line 116, you can see our reimbursement rate is 55.63%. We expect to get 3.65% in incentive points. That's the 2% for the lead certification, and also MSBA have agreed to give us an extra 1.65% because the school does such a good job of maintaining your buildings, and they've looked at those, they've looked at the report. So that's 1.65 points out of possible 2, which is pretty good for an MSBA. So we come to an MSBA reimbursement of 59.28. When you take out the ineligibles, you get to about a 41% effective reimbursement rate. A lot of the stuff on the right-hand side of that, again, is just their formulas, going back to the reimbursable 3.5% of construction for the OPM fees, 10% for the design fees, the 8% for construction, the 8% for site work, the $333 for construction costs that's reimbursable. So that's where all those come out, and we put that into the ineligible column in it. So this is the form that we'll work from. This is the form we'll review with MSBA, with the committee. And also Jerry had talked about forming a working group or a budget group to review this. So when we're ready, we'll start going through this, and we'll plug in the actual numbers when we have hard costs.
Shane, quick question on the template over here. We don't carry escalation contingency?
We do line item number 95.
95?
It's escalation to midpoint of construction, so
Okay,
it's in
thank you.
there.
What does that amount to in a percentage?
We're carrying it at 4 to 5% per year. I'd have to go back.
Okay.
I think we were bidding in the spring of 2020, and we were looking at a 16 or 18 month construction period.
Does it need to be midpoint, or can it just be to the start and then the contractor holds the rest?
So this is a standard MSBA form that we're not allowed to change. We have had that discussion with MSBA.
Okay.
Typically, our guys carry it to start a construction to bid date. So that we just need to explain that to MSBA when we submit the estimate.
Okay.
Minor update.
As Shane said, we met with the staff at Mitchell. There was a few suggestions here and there, nothing too dramatic, thankfully.
Can I just interrupt real quick about that? Because we did get feedback as a committee that people were concerned that speaks to the staff. Can you give us a number of how many people you met with? Just so people are clear that we actually did that. Met with, got feedback from our teachers, staff, and others in the...
Probably pull out the agenda. I think we spoke to 8 or 9 different groups that day.
We probably had anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 people in it, so.
It was a good cross-section of teachers. We had some folks from our guidance department, school adjustment counselors, school psychs, nurse leader, custodial, which was represented by Paul, food service through Chartwells.
I had to guess, I'd say 20 to 25.
Yeah.
And they all met with their grade level staffs before.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to.
I think this is the older plans, the ones we showed them to discuss. There was 4 or 5 areas, I think, that had some bigger moves that we needed to make. The ground floor, we relocated the stage slightly. On the first and second floors, the guidance was, we had it spread out across the entire building. There was a request to kind of put it all together in the admin suite. And then on the second floor, the STEAM, Media Center, Computer Lab, Art and Maker Lab, we rejiggered those a little bit, realigned the way they sit next to one another. So on the first floor, there was a request to move adaptive PE from the second floor down to the first floor, put it adjacent to the OTPT space. OTPT will still be able to become a spare K if necessary, but those 2 spaces, I guess, have a lot of interaction, and also adaptive PE can now use the toilet facilities in OT and won't require its own, which I think we may have been showing earlier. The other big move was to take the guidance offices. I think there's 4 sites in 1 stack and a conference room. We added those to the admin suite. So the admin suite is a lot more purple now, you can see. The admin suite also bumped out a little bit in order to put all those extra offices in there. Now the admin suite is essentially the guidance, it's admin, some SPED offices, and it's also the nurse, all located right next to the main entrance at the front of the building. The other suggestion was to make the stage a bit more accessible, and so we moved it to between the gym and between the CAF. It'll have operable walls on either side, so you can open it to either the CAF and close it off from the gym, or open it to the gym and close it off from the CAF. This is obviously showing the upper level of the gym stage CAF. So this is just a quick front view. It shows the area that's circled is the new bump out for the admin. We had to add probably 600 or 700 square feet of space to that, and so now it's going to be a bit more visible on the front of the building. We extended the entry canopy out over the admin. This is, again, just a rough idea of what it might look like. It's not the final version of what the elevations are going to look like.
Can I ask a clarifying? Oh, go ahead. 3 of us.
Please, well, I'm sorry. Pat?
So when we were talking about the gym and the stage, one thing that we talked about was the size of the gym. Shane, I think we only get 6,000 square feet reimbursed. But we talked about that it gets used a lot for town biddy league, and it's going to be more of a community gym. And I think when Chris was here, he mentioned you couldn't get stands in with it just being 6,000 square feet. Was that bumped out at all as part of this? Do you know?
So I think we were now showing some bleachers in there, just a couple of rows. Went and we measured, or Paul measured the court for us, and we think we can replicate the courts that's there and still put a couple of bleachers in there. So that's coming up in this.
Did we ever figure out if that was a high school size or?
It was a
regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we usually use a regulation high school size court, even if elementary school kids necessarily play on it. That's where the 6,000 square feet that MSBA pays for comes from, is a high school size basketball court.
And in that 6,000 square feet, you think we can get some stands?
No, we made the gym bigger. I think we added an extra 10 feet, well, 8 to 10 feet, which will add 4 to 5 rows of bleachers.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak, if you could just, because we discussed this in the meeting on Friday, that even though we're increasing the square footage to the admin suite, the overall square footage remains the same, because we're just relocating. Just kind of wanted to put that out there.
Still the 132, even though some of these slides might have numbers that don't suggest. So up on the second floor, we relocated the computer lab to adjacent to the media center. Computer lab is actually part of the media center program. So so we're kind of breaking it out, but showing it in the blue color. There was a request for an operable wall between the media center and the computer lab, so it could be broken off completely. There's also a second computer lab space in the media center. We're just not showing it. And that one will not be able to be broken off. It's main in media center at all times. Next to that is the maker lab. They'll have doors. We're still debating on how big of a door, a sliding door or some kind of operable partition between media center and the maker lab. Another open door between the maker lab and the first art space. Then potentially another one into art 2, depending on how much wall space they want and how much freedom they want to move between all of them. We also made the 2 art storage into 1 art storage, 1 big art storage. Still working on where that actually shows up. Makes for some odd shaped art rooms right now. And then the sped moved to the end of the steam cluster. This is a quick section through the gym, the cafeteria wing, the gym wing. It shows corridors are always kind of one of the dark parts of the building, and so tried our best to get as much daylight into that space, and also because we now have extended learning spaces that are open to the corridor, trying to get some sunlight to them is important. So the way this building, it's a little odd, the corridors don't actually stack up on top of one another, just because of the way cafeteria and the gym and some of the other spaces work. So we've got large skylights. Right now we're showing 3 of them over the 3 openings in the floor. Those will get light to the 3rd floor corridors, the 2nd floor corridors, and the 1st floor corridor. It'll also get light into the ELS spaces. Cafeteria, this section cuts through the cafeteria, and then you can see the 2-sided stage beyond, and then gym beyond that. This is a section through the other wing of the building. That's the 2-story wing. Again, the corridors don't really line up, which actually helps us get light down through openings in the floor. We've got a big skylight over, either it'll be continuous or over areas, ELS areas, or just the holes in the floor, and gets light to the ELS spaces that are out in the corridor. On the ground floor, again, we relocated the stage from the end of the gym, moved it between the gym and the caf. There's 2 large operable walls on either side of the stage. So again, you could open it to the caf, or you could open it to the gym, or you could open it to both if you wanted to. We've done this on another school. The operable wall has a really high noise reduction coefficient, and so I'm not going to say it's 100%. Probably could still hear a basketball if someone threw it at the wall, but it does a really good job of knocking down sound from one space to the other. The other thing we did was relocate the music from the left side of the custodial. We kind of flipped that whole thing and put it on the right side, so now it's closer to the stage. So if there's an event going on in the stage, they can use the music rooms as green rooms, the waiting space. Also, we're looking at making the stage kind of a 3rd music space, close both the walls. You can access the stage directly from the corridor, and potentially that could be used as 3rd music room or some other space that could be used while the cafeteria and or the gym is in use. We did show potentially some extended custodial storage or school storage, school department storage on the ground floor. It's beyond the program at this point, but likely something that school wants to consider. Storage is always in high demand.
Can you go back?
Yep.
Could you talk to me about the loading there? See that there's a loading dock?
There again, there was a request for a loading dock. I guess a lot of the things that are delivered to the school, some of them do come on 18-wheelers. Some come on smaller trucks that don't have 4-foot high loading ramps. We're still talking with that our landscape architect about how to do this and how to separate trucks from A, and whether or not bringing 18 wheelers to this site is actually going to work. But for now, we're showing it, showing two dumpsters out in the back too. It's next to the custodial. It's going to be accessed from the cafeteria, but I think that's something that needs further discussion. So
That's not set in stone. That's something we decide to.
yes, absolutely.
I just say too, sorry, if I could, just that space too would be utilized for the base program.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you want to
Yeah,
speak.
there was I guess there's the after-school program, the base program. Most of the spaces that they use are the cafeteria, the gym, music. So we provided a small office right next to the rear entrance, which I believe is where the base students will be coming in from. There's also a small base storage room for their equipment. The base office can monitor that door. People are coming and going.
And the parents will come in from the rear entry, the building, so they won't have to come into the physical plant. They have their own entrance and exit.
Can I just, sorry. Sure. Belabor the loading dock. All.
Correct.
Just to clarify, what happens now? Is the Mitchell doesn't have a loading, the current Mitchell, the middle doesn't have.
Yeah, what happens now is that we get a lot of requests for this, and I'll deal with a lot of phone calls, and stuff actually gets brought to the high school, and then maintenance brought in the back of our trucks, and it's I saw this, I talked to my team out there, and it was something that was quickly brought up was, they're taking wish list items right now.
Just on the ramp to the stages, does that need to be accessible from both sides? On the ramp to the stage? Does that need to be
Currently what
accessible
we have
from
is
cafeteria?
like a foyer space, so you'll enter from the gym or from the caf or from the corridor into space that's just hard to see. It's a little fuzzy, but that's the ramp there, and just above it, that little space there is accessible from all three rooms. So you'll be able to go into that space and then up the ramp. It also allows to keep the caf, gym, and the corridor all acoustically separated as well.
So where's the bottom of the ramp? Is it the gym, the cafeteria, or the hall?
The gym, the caf, and the hall are all at the same level.
Right.
And so the stage is going to be 3 feet up from that. So
if they're using the cafeteria and the stage, and somebody needs to go from the cafeteria floor up to the stage, how are they getting up?
they'll go in through
Do they have to go?
that door there
Yeah,
and then up the ramp.
okay.
And if you're coming from the gym, you'll go through that door and up the ramp.
Okay.
Coming from the corridor, you go through that door and up.
Okay.
So- So this was just a picture that we took of the Thurgood Marshall School that we did that shows caf stage with the 2 doors, 2 operable walls open, and then through the Are there any questions?
So this is tonight. Met with, I was at the programming meetings. First off, so I needed not only base needs for their morning now. We also, I had needs, connections to Route 18, and the senior center. So this diagram kind of shows all of the things we've been talking about and massaging over the last. And what I'm hoping to get tonight is feedback from you all and be able to come back on May more detail. Happy to hear your comments. Right now, we're obviously separating bus traffic from parent. Both circulation coming in off of South in their own lane, wrapping around the school, and then being elevation area outside of the gym and the queuing right here. What we're planning on doing now is exiting out community. The parent traffic would come in off of South and basically come in, and they'd have a long queue in the morning. This would allow them to back and then leave. In the afternoons, as I understand it, all of the park and walk into the school, sign their children out. That process would still, we just needed to provide a lot of parking on the site, plus staff. That's why you see a large lot here, smaller parking lot here, which will handle a lot of visitors and also handicapped. And then a smaller lot here, another lot. That accommodates 5 spaces. That'll be carved up because staff, visitor, handicapped.
So that was a comment back from MSBA as to why we need that many spaces. Worked with Dennis and Derek and Jean's office to get them an explanation, so we've sent that to them, but they have pushed back on that a bit. I'm not sure whether it's because of the amount of car parking there is, or maybe it's a stormwater issue, but they have questioned why we need so much.
So moving on to the other outdoor spaces.
Real quick. The for I would call the after-hour entrance.
Yeah.
Get us to the Steve. Where is that in relation?
Sure.
Just help me.
So we were thinking that the parents would come off of South Street. They would actually loop around behind the building and follow the bus loop and stack here. And they would come in that entrance, which goes right into where the gym is, right here. Where that base staff is.
I wasn't even thinking base. I was thinking more of the and basketball and event the programming
Sure.
that happens.
Sure.
Where they go to park versus.
Sure. So this portion of the parking lot will be at that lower elevation where it's just a walk.
Perfect.
And then also the vans that for the special needs students be able to come in. One option is they come in and stack right here. It allows them to get all the equipment out and be able to come to the main entrance with all of the other students. The back here around and because we're essentially making that a system now and in the other option is they can park further back, and I don't know about another entrance here, but right now this seems like the most.
I would say, Chris, too, we talked about, that's the special needs population, K2, because if we look to stagger the start time of, or make it earlier for the preschool, those preschool vans won't be hitting all that parent traffic.
And what's nice about that is this is all sidewalk, so there's no crossing of those students. So talking about play spaces, so essentially service vehicles would have to wrap around. Yeah. So we're proposing some access gates. So there's restricted access from this point. And that is part of understanding, part of the things that aren't quite solved yet is when are deliveries happening? Is there something that be done by the district. Deliveries aren't allowed during these hours.
And do they on or parameter on when deliveries can?
Not sure if your loading dock, this site, all and in the front, they're actually.
It's difficult. We have, Cisco, we have Gorelick Farms. I mean, we're not the only show in town, so we're kind of sometimes at the mercy. UPS, we're at the mercy of, those folks. They gotta stay on their schedule.
So,
It's the coordination of the bigger deliveries where you got the tractor trailer type deliveries.
Yeah, like Cisco.
May not be able to turn around and go back out to it.
well, that was going to be my question, is you get the cafeteria to deliver, they're delivering during the day. In the
Early morning.
when you're
Yeah, I think they're early, yeah.
in. So if we put an access gate, what's an 18-wheeler going to do? Get out. The access gate.
Correct.
To give you that feedback as to.
We can't
Right.
provide all of the space they need.
When we were at the Mitchell, there wasn't any of that big deliveries while we were at recess,
It was
on the first grade recess.
we would have to clear the blacktop and.
We never,
Oh, yeah.
okay,
It
okay.
was,
The difference between first and second grade.
it is.
Better than what it is.
Okay, so moving on to play areas, we'll start with the pre-K play area, which is located right outside of the pre-K wing floor plans. So it's direct access of play surfacing, perimeter fencing, and that we're going to come back to the staff, I believe, with options, equipment that help development, major motor skills. Totally open to. Right now, we're creating this real estate there. That's the first area. It would also be accessible, so if staff is parking back here, they would be able to. The second play area, new play area, is this area right here. And previous schemes, just so I've been tasked with trying to break this space. So what I'm proposing by a layered landscape, areas that terrace down, go down to the bottom area. In order to program several things. One is to program space for parents, drop their children off or children up, but then move away from the entrance, but they still want to kind of linger and chit chat. There's a small space. Then terrace down from that, there's a garden area. And that would be kind of off from the play area so that when teachers gardening, that there's no distraction by the. Then we terrace down to upper level play area. Terraces, hardscape, pavement. And then the, obviously the area that you currently have at the school here with all of would still exist, as well as all of the playfield. We're proposing that this just and the equipment that is over here either gets removed and resettled over in these two. Maybe there's another district use, but I expect groups that have put in the money to put those playgrounds. So this is just a blow-up showing square footages of these areas. So what you have today is kind of this large area, and based on talking with all the teachers, the area gets broken up by group, classroom groups here, and the third classroom would be in this. Again, third one used. So now they're all very close together. And the idea is that if you wanted to coordinate those neighborhoods that are typically separate during the classroom day, when they're outside at recess, they're able to see their friends that aren't necessarily in their neighborhood. And I think that was what they wanted to see. So now if you have this area staff and you have staffing here and you have students are that was the intent. And these they're all very similarly sized. A lot of conversation happened play and the ability to surf, maybe not being able to this area conditions. We wanted to be able to provide as much blacktop play surfacing as to match what I think you are just blacktop with lines and the kids use the play surface totally. I also can clarify, as we talked about in the winter, whether when they're only going to be using this area,
That's what we've done in the past.
Okay. So not, usually you take advantage of good weather, all of these spaces that put in bad weather.
We did that in the past, a certain amount of space, so.
Right.
We had actually 3 cafeterias, so we would rotate. It was No, but I know it was a question that a lot of people were wondering about.
I would be.
Could I just ask a question? Lil and Lisa, when you had those situations, how many students do you think you could put on those hard ski places? I mean, how many kids?
One went out.
Because you had
It was too many.
We're in there.
So like if we have 9 second grades, it would be like 3 would go out, so maybe 75. Well, more than that, maybe 80. With that, yeah. And it was difficult because we also had cars out there and it was not.
Yeah, the difference is this.
Yeah.
Yeah, parking back there.
So
Any maintenance parking would be.
Okay.
See, the dark gray would all be restricted. Just a close-up showing the elevation. So say this is elevation 0, just for purposes outside of the area and the gym. And then we would slope this up, all accessible slope, no ramp, step. Be +3 here, +4 here, and then you so the idea is that this area, this landscape would be some kind of soft wall, boulder to work that out. We're just taking some of the visuals from RDA line colors that you see, the blues and yellows, are just to show you different spaces.
Not water.
It's not water.
Beachfront, beachfront property.
We're not breeding mosquitoes.
So you could start to see this, this fencing between areas. This would be that first terrace where maybe people want to hang out, if you allow them to. This is the outdoor garden area. This is the accessible path going down to the upper play surfacing, where you could have like a slide and boulders on the, and down all the way down to the bottom where it would be the hardcore area, and maybe kind of a running loop or a cycling loop for programming. And then anything that spills out from the.
Is there a overhangs? Okay, that space, is that an overhang that could be used?
That's an overhang, and I'm also starting to show conceptually shade structures outside, beyond this. And this is the upper play surface, lower play surface. Images out. These are very different examples. Some of them may be appealing to you, some of them may. I just wanted to show you overall, play surfacing versus natural shape. Very different. This shows the idea of, you can't really see it in the background, but it's an idea of a mound, like that clean play surfacing. You have a clean palette all around you. Dynamic, softscape, landscape, play surfacing that stays maintainable. So this image may not get you there visually, but I just wanted to show you the idea of a slide going down the landscape. This one's like Crazy Town, but I don't want you to worry about, I'm not going to Crazy Town, but the idea of an upper play area, maybe that's really up, I'm only, this is a lower idea of play surfacing to. So again, very conceptual, just wanted to put that you see.
I do like the, where they have the artificial surfacing there rather than the rocks and the things, because the kids are just going to dig. They'll dig,
Yeah.
and they find anything to, and this will be less of that, and it will look.
Which goes to the maintenance. So not worrying about digging, making mud, and having to repair grass.
Do we also discuss on Friday that those surfaces can be snowplowed, blower?
We did, we don't recommend this.
Yeah, we don't recommend it, but if you had,
It's the rubber surface.
We're the code. Place rubberized surface. Your snow blow it and have that same heat. So it's going to melt a little.
I'm just saying for
Yeah.
that issue of not having enough students going out at a time, but if that was maintained for snow removal, you'd have more students go out. Shovel ready then?
So maybe just before we go off that, is there any comments or feedback that we can give to Chris for the next time she comes to present? You like, you don't like, anything?
Can I ask a parking question? Curious where the staff park front of the building. How far of a walk? Because I know you talked about them maybe going in a back door or something like that, but I'm wondering about having them always go. I mean, I don't know how the superintendent feels, but my preference is I'd rather they come in and out of the.
So I can get that for you.
Yours.
So if you want feedback, I mean, I kind of like the surface of the one you referred to as Crazy Town.
I like Crazy Town too.
Crazy stuff. I wanted to play there. It's like fun.
Those, the access, we're not, those would be locked. Because I'm envisioning the fire department having to potentially loop around the back of that building. We want them to be able to get those gates open out.
We would provide whatever.
All right, I just wasn't sure what you had thought
They
process.
could be like the slot, slide into a slot, and then they just have to like open them. They could collards, that kind of just snap. Whatever the.
We're meeting with safety officials in a few weeks.
Yeah, so I think they will be lockable, and then it will be up to the school whether they want to put a padlock on them. I mean, the fire department probably have the key to the standard padlocks you use.
Any other?
Question, has preschool teachers brought into this yet,
Yes,
or-
we had one representative from preschool, and Dina Medeiros was the special ed liaison to the preschool program.
And I just had a question, where is it planned where they'd be going, they'd go out through the cafeteria and in, where would they come in, the building?
So this is the cafeteria. Depending on what they're doing first. You would just assume they're eating first and then they're in these back doors.
Oh, okay. So it's not gonna cross
Or
over,
you could
okay.
do, yeah, where you could do.
Yeah, we provide direct access from the cafeteria directly out to that play space. Also from the gym, essentially you could get directly out to there. And then there's, cuts down in the crossing.
Yeah.
When they leave, they could either, Chris said, go back in around the kitchen and right into the corridor, or potentially they could even go up to the front door. Want to lead them up that front door, being that they're both accessible entrances.
Yeah, and it's not,
I think I heard we want to stay away from the boulders,
yeah.
so try and
Yeah, that would be.
bring it down without
Those boulders, dangerous.
boulders.
I'm sorry, say that again, I missed that.
So I think you showed some boulders, right?
Yeah.
Try and avoid all those boulders.
I don't know, like,
I mean, if, can we get that
jumping
drop
off of them.
without
They're gonna jump
sort of
off.
They're gonna climb them and
jump them, aren't they? I would.
Be climbing and jumping on them.
We used to do it.
Yell and get off the rock. Off the rock.
We can treat that slope.
Okay.
Create kind of like seat, 18,
Uh-huh.
allow them. Then of it can be.
Yeah.
Guessing. Wherever that fence is,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
right? There's got to be a fence.
Yeah.
We're gonna paint that boulder red. You can't.
You don't go beyond the red. On the red boulder.
Yeah, one of our early suggestions was well, we showed the retaining wall, but we also showed a series of, they look like giant steps. There's like a seating wall. So there is a staircase you can climb up, but there's also like 18 by series of 18 by seats kids can sit on and maybe even.
That would be good for like taking them outside too, taking a class outside during non-recess times, having places to sit. And some kids really like to do that at recess. They don't want to run around.
She had some.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah.
Right. Just having a little bit of that
Yeah.
without feeling like they're going to climb up.
It just,
So we've heard two things, school committee in the past about, one being buddy bench. We had a buddy bench donated from other schools. Appreciate some of that, of those benches turn into potentially buddy bench. Right. And then the flip side is we've also heard from folks, kids break their arms or typically they don't go outside. Them hurt in cast. So those benches might be able to address that issue as we have gotten feedback. We want to be able to sit out during the day and know broken a limb.
That one you said would have like a shade area or something like that?
Yeah, so that was
Structure.
like the
And you could
outdoor
have some
garden
tables,
area.
have some
classroom.
tables underneath.
So the
and that would be in the garden area.
in the garden,
Okay.
look at how
Nice.
friends that
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a need for a lot of some shade structure?
What's that?
Is there a need for some or a lot of shade structures, or is it a nice thing to have? People like sit under an arbor.
Would be a nice need for those kids, like.
Because if they're just sitting,
If
So
they're
right now
sitting and
they
not
can-
moving, then
And
the
because
shade
if
would
it's a
probably be
hot sunny
ideal.
day, it would be nice if they could at least sit in the shade.
Be clear, my kid was one of those.
right now we have a picnic table under this beautiful big tree, and that's nice for those kids on those days.
BAC.
How you doing? I know we previously went over various systems that would be appropriate for this building that we're going to study during the life cycle cost analysis. But our proposed system, the displacement ventilation system, and it's proven to be very cost effective as well as provide superior thermal comfort and indoor air quality. This is just a few diagrams of how the system works, benefits of how it removes pollutants from the space, heat rises, so you're actually only conditioning about 6 feet of the area versus the whole volume of the mixed air overhead system. So that really results in a lot of benefits. Next slide. We go to that. Big question that we're kind of looking for some guidance from you all on is if you're going to go with a fully air-conditioned displacement ventilation system or a dehumidified partial AC system. Our current narratives reflect a full AC system, and what that allows you to do is maintain year-round only set point 75 degrees variable, whereas the dehumidification partial AC system, there could be potential times in the year during peak cooling loads where you're only going to get about 78 degrees. So we're going over a few. I thought we go to the next slide. Benefits, pros and cons of each system. And the benefits of a parcel air conditioning system that you get great thermal comfort, reduced duct sizes, also reduces the size of your air handlers and secondary equipment. And the installation cost is generally in line or even less than alternate systems that aren't even as. If you go for the benefit of maintaining that 75-degree set point, there's cost implications involved around it where they have to increase the duct sizes. They're going to need a larger volume of air to maintain that temperature, or you're going to need an additional piping system where instead of just hot water radiant panels in the space, you'll have chilled water going there for that excess load to get that 3 degrees. Overall, it equates to approximately $8 per square foot of the areas served where you would apply that. And it your operating cost 30 cents, 70 cents per square foot. It depends on the amount of hours you use the building. And there's any further decisions on what the town is really looking for.
Shane, what are we carrying in the budget right now? How much, and would this
I
be
think
an ad?
we carried, I believe it was $46 or $48 per square foot, which would probably get you the full air conditioned.
Well, if within,
A narrative is based off.
if within the budget, we're already carrying it, then I think we already made a decision, other than just saying, okay, we want to cut back and put that extra $8 to $10 per square foot somewhere else, right?
Well, and I don't think we've made that decision, other than to say, let's go, because we knew that was going to be the higher amount.
I don't mean literally
Right,
make the
right.
decision. I meant
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's in there, so if we want to go down, we can allocate money elsewhere.
Is that what you're looking for, is decide tonight whether to keep it as full or go down to partial?
Yeah, essentially, if you guys are comfortable with the fully air conditioning by design at that level, and then a lot of times on projects too, may go in with the full AC, and then during value engineering, that could be an area that's further along.
So you know, I mean, the displacement, we've done it with you before in Situate, is one of the most recent ones where the building is cool, you're effectively taking the humidity out of the air.
Yeah.
So it feels like air conditioning, it's just not full air conditioning. You know, how many days a year would your guess be that you wouldn't feel comfortable, or what temperatures you have to get to for?
You're really going to feel comfortable at that 78, and one thing that I'm glad to do, I know on a lot of projects, taking people on tours of existing buildings, we have many projects that went with the partial AC system. They're comfortable year round. The reason a lot of people, fully AC guarantees you, and a lot of people are concerned with global warming, preparing for heightened temperatures where they know they're comfortable being guaranteed maintain that 75 degrees. It's kind of a temperature that everyone's comfortable with being a set point. So some people may see on the thermostat it rises to 78, but in reality the space is within the actual thermal comfort levels. Another option too is that we design for the fully air conditioned system and want to cut back on your bills, you set point to 78, and later down the road if you're uncomfortable with that set.
But you're only going to be uncomfortable if you have a week of 90 to 95 degrees.
Absolutely.
Right, so
But within any design condition that, based on the design, you're going to see about that 1%, 0.5% of the year.
Still required in both systems.
Kind of to Shane's point, so when do we really need it, full air conditioning? Maybe June and September?
Well, I would just say that if, right now, we currently have an extended school year program that was once housed at the Mitchell, that's now at Rainham Middle. So eventually, that extended school year program would be back at the Mitchell. So I'm just saying, you're talking 8 weeks in the summer, what that program is. So you would be in a good portion of July, early August. I mean, that's just one.
And then base. Bases in the buildings.
No, I just think at this point in our process, it makes sense to keep moving forward with the full, and as you know, we've heard, at some point further on down the line, we can say, you know what, it really would be nice to carry that number, but we're getting to a point where we got to find a few dollars, and we know we can drop back, rather than trying to go up. So that's my suggestion.
So I guess then to jump on Tim's point, I think it's a valid one, is what point is that going to be? When do we need to? Just so we're all aware of, right now we say go ahead with full air. At what point we need to say to you, change your plans, go to partial?
As far as I know, right now, the architect team really concerned with the size of spaces. So we're in the process of coordinating areas that we're going to need for our ductwork. So if we go with the full air conditioning option now, it will result in larger mechanical areas. So for it to change it, that would get more available floor area. So
Probably make it easier for us later.
yeah.
I mean, it's obviously harder to add mechanical duct space after, so doing it this way is the easiest of the two, obviously. Ducts are smaller.
If your decision is to VE, the decision doesn't need to be made until design development,
Right.
which is after you've approved it as a project. Right now, we just need to get to the estimators with a narrative of what to carry for your PFA budget. If somewhere between SD and PFA budget, you want to VE it out, it doesn't affect anything we're doing. Once we start design development, it has to be a definitive decision.
And I'm all set.
So does that $8 a square foot include all those extra spaces and the extra ductwork, or is that just the system itself? So what's the total cost per square foot if you figure in all these extra spaces and ductwork? Roughly.
Well, no, you got to fit that within the square footage. It's just whether it's a 2x4 or a 3x4 shaft.
I'm sorry. I heard the full air conditioning was in there, so it's been assumed in all these schematics that we've looked at and all the square footage that we've been using, right?
Right, well, yeah, we're carrying
So we
conceptual
would
numbers.
just, there's no more to be added, there's only more to be gained if we drop down at some point in
And
time.
I think that was Pat's question.
Correct.
What-
Yeah, but I just want to make sure that this wasn't an add-on, it's actually, we get more square footage if we want to.
Yeah,
go with the
cost is
displays.
negligible. You just got to find the space for that bigger ductwork. We're not going to make the building bigger because our ductwork is bigger. We just got to fit it in within.
But it's already fit in. In your designs, you've assumed full air conditioning, correct?
We have. But we
And
haven't-
so all of that ductwork is accounted for somewhere in your designs,
It
right?
hasn't been designed yet.
Well, in the pictures that we've been looking
Yeah,
at.
we
It's all
floor
been,
plans, yeah.
yeah, it's all been accounted for in there somehow.
Right, we got it.
So
we
we're
gotta fit it within.
we're not taking away anything from the pictures we've been looking at.
Nor are we adding anything.
No, but what could happen is if we move forward in the future and we have displace, then all of a sudden, instead of some portion of the picture being mechanical, it's open. It's open.
It goes back to floor space
Yes.
instead of
Yeah.
a shaft.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had a question about the full air conditioning system, is that across the entire building? Or is there options to do more of a hybrid system? Like,
Yes.
let's say the gym gets not that option, but
Exactly. If we were to go partial air conditioning, we would still provide full air conditioning for the administrative suite. And a lot of other buildings, what we'll see is that they'll also, if you have an auditorium, or in this case, cafeteria, stage, gymnasium, those are usually other areas where they may decide to go fully air conditioned, but it would just be classroom areas. Partial. That option is absolutely. Is there a design you guys require full air conditioning for your gym, cafeterias, or some very adamant about preference on that end?
I was just going to make a comment. For a point of reference, that's the way that all of our schools are right now. Is that pretty much it's the admin areas, auditoriums, high-profile areas that are all air conditioned.
That's how, when we do our life cycle, that's how we will perceive with that parcel.
I would say too, some of our special needs students have some real significant needs when it comes to temperature regulation. So we do have some students that require, we right now put, for the most part, we'll put a window unit in or something along those lines because they do, you know.
Yeah, and Gene mentioned that to me, so I brought up the problem that we could either have displacement, but with an additional split system unit, wall-mounted unit, in addition to it, get that extra control, or even just increase the air volume that one case, so that you know that there'll be a variable air volume box that modulate temperature.
so one more question for you, Paul. Do we have an energy recovery unit or energy recovery wheel on any of our existing buildings?
The high school in specific, but there are other heat wheels. The other buildings, right in middle school, for instance, other buildings are older, but the high school is one of the best runs.
We didn't have any such system at the Mitchell lab.
I do not believe so. No, it's just a bunch. The air conditioning was, they did have a chiller system in there, and then they installed like a bunch of mini duct splits.
Again, just not to belabor the point, but when you say increased operational cost, are we factoring the ERV in there?
Yes,
The ERU?
absolutely.
Okay.
Both these systems will have ERV. Actually, every system that we propose will have energy recovery.
Okay.
Basically, what's required now, once you get this, just the ones that will be providing higher efficiency. Code only requires 50% efficient energy recovery, we're usually 60 to 80%, depending on, really varies on.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So just so we're all on the same page, we're going forward with as a fully air-conditioned change, we can do that at a later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How you doing? Dave Brown, electrical engineer. So I'm basically just going to run through the subsystems, electrical building that we're proposing. There's no real decision points that we're looking for, but any feedback would be welcome. Answer any questions you might have. So the first system would be the power distribution system. Right now we're proposing a 480 volt, 277 480 volt. You'll have transformers to step that down to your 122 away, which is your regular receptacle loads. We're going to have switchboard construction, which will feed sub-panels. We're estimating about 3 other electrical closets in the building. And each closet will have panels that segregate the loads for mechanical equipment, power power equipment and lighting loads. For the power equipment that feeds sensitive electronics like computers, specify what you see as K13, oversized neutrals, as well as panel boards that feed the power panels. They'll have built-in surge suppression that will protect from spikes, and then we'll have double neutrals, which will protect from surges and non-linear loads that create problems in your electronics. We're doing what we can to protect your electronics from surges and transient voltages and things like that, so we separate type of power system separately from mechanical equipment, technology equipment, and lighting. Lighting controls and lighting. So building will be 100% LED. We're looking to beat the energy code by at least 40%. So we're using high efficiency LED fixtures, very high efficacy, which watt. We'll coordinate with the architect to look at colors and ceiling colors to make sure they're high reflectivity, provide calculations to make sure that we maintain our IES recommended light levels, and at the same time just really reduce the overall light power density in the building, which in turn translates to energy savings, reduced cooling loads, increases or decreases your energy. So yeah, we're targeting 0.4 to 0.5 watts per square foot in the building. We will be proposing an addressable lighting control system. Means all of your it'll be a low voltage system. All of your fixtures will have modules attached to them, so your wiring, your switches won't be dependent on a certain set of lights. It's very flexible, very easy to install. It's installed over Cat6 cable throughout, and it's all web accessible, so you'll have that tips on the website, and they've come a long way, so I know I'm sure you've had your challenges with lighting control systems in the past, but they've actually much simplified over the last 5 years or so. Try to keep it that way. This is all BACnet IP compatible, so it'll integrate nicely with the building management system, so all the occupancies.
So on that, David, are you guys using any of the wireless lighting controls? Is that
We will use wireless on site fixtures, not in the building.
not in the building?
It's wired right now. I mean, they do have wireless systems, but we've had issues with dropping out and they're using wireless.
So it's new technology that's not ready yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's ready, but a wired system, building like this, we really employ wireless with it. Much easier to trouble.
How does the daylight harvesting work? Is it continuous dimming or is it in batches of light?
It's continuous dimming. Every light fixture in the building, what you'll do is you'll have a dimming photosensor in a classroom, select fixtures that will dim down to maintain your 30. You actually calibrate that in the room during commissioning. Calibrate the one photosensor and it's able to dim the row closest to the outside wall and the row in a row to get to that 30-foot candle. We keep dimming most of it. If you have enough light in the room, it'll look like your light's made, but they're off. And it's very continuous. It's not like the fluorescent dimming. LED have a very smooth, line it into the controls where it's very gradual. So sun comes out, sun goes back down. You're not going to notice the lights go dim and the lights come back bright again. Very gradual. Fire alarm system, essentially it's going to be a voice evacuation system. We're going to design it for an FBA 72. We'll have smoke protection and egress paths and assembly spaces. We have not addressed the mass notification part of the fire alarm system yet. Something that's probably on the safety and security. Just to, give you an idea of what that is, if you see those devices there, you see the amber, the clear. What mass notification is that there will be an alert strobe and a different message will play over the fire alarm system, which is after mass notification. That'll allow you to do is the only way you can override a fire alarm is if you have a mass notification system designed for Chapter 2. What that means is that if an event occurs, building, someone, the amber strobes will go off, mass notification, a lockdown or a shelter in place, whatever message you decide for that emergency, start playing, that takes priority over your fire alarms. Only way you can do that. So what that means is if someone in the malicious, during the mass notification event goes to pull stations and try to intentionally make people come out of the building, that won't happen. So that's something that will be discussed in the safety and security meetings.
So
there is an added cost to that.
who triggers that? So there's only a certain number of people who can trigger the mass notification?
It's something you can do with panic buttons. You can give it to.
But it's not like a fire alarm where anybody can pull.
No. You wouldn't give a mass notification.
So there's 4 or 6 people.
Yeah, or you can do it using an app if you had to. There's many different ways. It's the same way you can trigger a lockdown in a school using your access control system or your intrusion. You can interface that with the mass notification. It does add some cost to the building because it's another set of wires or strobes. So right now, the estimate is not have mass notification. I wanted to bring that up. Talk about it at the safety center.
What would the estimated
Dollars.
So on the smoke detectors, you said egress spaces and
Egress
large.
paths.
So
And basically your corridors, stairwells, cafeteria, gymnasium, multi-assembly spaces would be multi.
So by code, we're not required to put them in
Not-
classrooms unless the fire department.
Smoke
specifically-
detection is actually not required. But as good engineering practice, fire departments typically want smoke detection in egress paths, which is called early warning detection. So if there is smoke in a path of egress, that's a critical place for it to happen. Early warnings, waiting for an actual fire alarm system.
One thing we had talked about is carbon monoxide here.
Required. So the carbon monoxide detection will be done at a rooftop unit level. Have duct mounted detectors, the rooftops. They'll be to serve all the classrooms. Generator. We're proposing a 125 kW diesel generator. What you see here is a generator. Picture of a generator. And what that will entail, powering life safety systems and optional standby systems. Life safety systems are all your emergency lighting, exit signs, fire alarm. They'll be on one distribution system protecting the 2 elevator closets. Optional standby systems, freeze protection, includes boilers, pumps, so that in a power outage, building's not going to freeze, will maintain temperature. All your communications, building management system, access control systems, security, and strategically placed receptacles. Maybe the administration area. So those are small loads, but we can add outlets that'll be a different color that you can put on the emergency where they're needed. Game changer. But all your communication, MDF and IDFs, lighting controls, your building management system, your network switches, your servers, telephone system, page, all that stuff will be considered communications equipment and will be on the generator. as well as the cooling units that serve those rooms.
At the William.
And any refrigeration, kitchen, if you have any refrigerators, refrigeration in the nurses, any refrigerators or refrigeration will be identified and put on the emergency care. We are not planning on putting elevator or drastically increase the size of the.
There is no shelter here, right?
There's a shelter at the high school for,
There's no shelter at Mitchell.
That's important to know. That has a huge effect on the generator. Are your generators diesel or natural gas right
most of them are natural gas. This one should be natural gas. We do have a couple other diesel.
So before we confirm the natural gas, we just have to call the electrical inspector and make sure that you have others. I'm sure you will be. So we would prefer a natural gas this size. Really no cost increase. Make a note of that. And
Paul, I just didn't know why we'd have a diesel generator there with natural gas on site, that's all.
So on the hypothetical, the electrical inspectors, what size tank would we need for a
we
diesel?
would 48 hour at full load. So it'd be probably come up about 2 feet under that white unit right there. Send out maybe another 4 feet in front of it. Get a belly tank under that. It'd be sized for 48 hours at full load. Probably last. You have to treat it. You gotta use ultra low. We will ask the inspector, because in the electrical code it says 48 hours. That's a reliable fuel source. We have to.
Is that just the electric inspector, or is the fire department fall under?
Electrical inspector. In the electrical.
Whether it's not.
There's natural gas. If it's diesel, it's gas doesn't get.
We do ours once a week in most of our other schools, so it's okay.
Yeah, once a week is, once a month is what's required by it.
How long is that?
And these are this is a sound attenuated. We actually 75 dB at 7 meters away. Pretty good. Depending on where it's located on the site.
We usually try to run it in the morning, or otherwise we just switch to ours. Not to.
We'll have a pad option. Yeah, I mean, you don't have, a lot of people think they have to go next to each other. There's no relation between the two. A lot of times it's just you're given this little utility area and you're going to generate and transformer. For the utility company standards, they need to be a minimum last longer. That's something that we work on.
So these haven't been placed on site. You haven't designed these.
We would, from a cost estimate, that was set back in the loading dock area. Don't want them out.
So are you looking for some direction on these on the right-hand side?
That's what it's on it now. Anything beyond that, let's just say if you adamant about having the elevator on it. Right now, the elevator in a power outage has a battery lowering device. Lower to the first floor and open. Wouldn't use it. When you lose power, is evacuated, not a shelter. So we have basic stuff to keep the building damaged. So if you want an elevator or
Dennis and Lisa, in terms of special needs population on the third floor that may have to get down to the main level.
So it would just go down, right? Battery would
Just
just go
lower it
down, you
down
might
to
not load the kids.
Only if you're in it.
So they would go to a rescue assist.
Well, most likely, could have a fire assist.
I'm just thinking about getting from it's with generated power. We've had times when we've had school, we're just on generated power. We're not canceling the school day, or you're still going to have to get students transported from different levels to the cafeteria. I'm just trying to think about how you would do that.
So what would that be to add a elevator space? Because that's one that I'm of the opinion that it needs to be on the gym.
In the grand scheme of things, it'd probably go from a 125 to 150, 175.
Okay.
$1 a watt.
I just think, have
So
to.
$15,000, $20,000. Be less than.
What do other people?
Well, what Derek brought up is, one thing you had said was the elevator was not included and the kitchen equipment isn't either. So if we had school, the kitchen equipment would be an issue as well.
You can't, if there's no power in the building, ventilation's not, you're not going to have ventilation. You have to have power. You can't, this is not a shelter, so we're not backing up the entire building. The way the electrical backup power is designed is, if there's a power outage, students would be, evacuated out of the building. It's not.
Well, we had one situation, I would just say last school year, where a transformer went down and it was on the grid with a high school as part. So we were on generated power. We still had, we had school because National Grid said it was going to be taken care of within, a few hours from when that happened. So in that type of a situation, we're probably most likely not going to be evacuating or canceling school. If you're talking like a predetermined amount of time, say, a 2-hour time.
What would happen is you're not going to run out of fresh air. Your units aren't going to be running. You're not going to have all your lights working.
Yeah, we didn't have classroom lights. We had hallway lights.
Yeah, so you had some lights, you had some power, and at your own discretion, you decided to kids in school for that.
The high school generator is also a larger size. It is a shelter building over there where there is additional stuff underneath.
So you probably had more lighting and things that you would have had.
Classrooms didn't have lights. We had hallway lights. I don't know.
But to the point of evacuation,
Yeah.
Downstairs.
if we got kids on the third floor that need out,
Yeah, you could, so in a power outage, didn't have the elevator on power, you would need to do what you would do in a fire alarm. Fire alarm.
So we usually have safety officials help with, or staff.
So yeah, I'm not opposed to it, I'm for it, because generator size increases and we didn't start off with it on there, so it would bump up.
So can I ask a question? So right now, when the fire alarm goes off, it happens. If someone is on the second floor, fire alarm goes off and the elevator is, they go to point of refuge. Does the fire department go in and take them out? Or does the fire department go in and stay where you are?
I've actually seen.
That would be their
yeah,
decision, the
their
fire
decision,
department
But I've
would
actually
decide.
seen them bring students down, say like in
They've done
wheelchairs and
both.
things. They've actually did like a lift and having the student escorted down. I guess it depends, like Dennis is saying, depending upon the situation.
So in to that, the code actually requires area of rescue assistance. So any elevator log that's not at grade level has a little call box. Those call someone 911 or a dispatch center. The fire department's there. It rings the phone right next to where the fire alarm is. Fire up. The fire department can actually pick up the radio. Yeah, if the elevator is something you want to put on, 50. Save some money, you don't have to buy the battery lowering device. Coordinate that with IDA.
Do others think?
Would it, I don't know, is it something we would want to ask the department? Like, I can think of different scenarios where they might not want you to use it, even if it was.
Fire department,
Surely you're not
the
using
fire department will have a key control of the elevator, so that the only people that can use the elevator, and you'd have to wait for them to get there, and if they wanted to use the elevator, it would be an advantage, and they would probably always say yes. If you gave them the option, they'd say yes.
Gene, when are we meeting with safety? We booked that.
It's like May 15th, maybe, before the May 20th meeting, whatever that Wednesday before that is.
Yeah, May 15th.
This again is one of those things where we carry it, get to where we need to make a decision. Yeah, I mean, it's just, we're trying to be clear on what we're gonna tell the estimators, because this is the only shot we get at the SD estimate. Once that's in, and once we establish the budget, we're done. So always reduce it, but we can't ever raise it.
Yeah, so adding the elevator, deal breaker on the generator side. If you said it's going to be a shelter, then you're doubling the size of the generator. Tax to it, and creates a whole.
The shelter's a six-figure number.
So based on what Tim said before on air conditioning, want to go with that? Put the elevator on the.
I heard
It's not on.
it's not in the number Shane gave us.
And again.
Well, again, it's just a conceptual
It's
number of
conceptual,
$32 a square foot for electric. You know, there's.
Yeah, so, and I just want to be clear, the 125 kW estimate based on typical loads, we run the actual, when we get the, like the mechanical system, like lights, actually will, at a certain point in design, when it develops, run an actual generator count. So when we put out the final drawing, that generator is selected based on the actual loads that are in the building. Right now, this is an estimate. It may be that 125 kW right now carries your own. I can't tell you for certain. Right?
Go ahead.
I just got to go back to Shane for a second. $32 for electrical per square foot, right? And that you said it's conceptual. Well, what did the concept involve? Did it involve a generator that would have carried the elevator, or did the concept involve not?
What I'm saying is $15,000 or $20,000 is within that margin of plus or minus.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So it carried a 125 kW generator. So when they did the estimate, they that size generator. What I'm saying is that I can't tell you for certain if 125 kW can handle it, including those loads. It's on a threshold. It might bump up to a 1.
Now I'm hearing two different things. It did or it didn't, and it's just within a margin of error, or it definitely didn't, so I'm confused, so. Let's just move on with Mike's suggestion.
No, I don't want to move on.
It sounds like it didn't, so we'll add
Okay.
$15,000 to $20,000 if we want.
Thank you.
We'll include in our narrative elevator load on it. I'll see if it affects it.
Thank you.
narrative, we carried basic systems, which would be intrusion, access control. Systems all integrate with each other. This is just an example of where you have a video intercom entry, create the man trap at the main entry, so you buzz someone in, then they can security cameras will all be IP based. I don't know if you standardize on any system. If you have, then we have to, at the safety security meeting, we'll talk about that. Talk about making them proprietary so they integrate with the rest of your system.
Sorry, I need to interrupt at 30 and we need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Work, second by Mr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
So we'll talk about that goes the same with the access control. So if this is standardized, we'll talk about how to procure it, proprietary, or make sure it integrates with this. So there'll be access control on your major entry points and area where the building needs position. There'll be security cameras throughout the perimeter and corridors, assembly spaces. Really highlighting the safety. This is just a number of items. This is not an actual image of your classroom, but from a technology standpoint, we'll probably have 8 to 10 data Cat6 drops in a particular room. A lot of schools are going away from just random data drops at the back of the room, using 2 data drops at the access point, data drops at the projector location or the interactive board, whatever that might be. A paging system, a speaker, a wireless clock system, clock on the wall, a voice or IP handset, where it says all the data and audio visual in the wall. And talking. So we'll coordinate the classroom power and data visions. Technology device equipment class.
To raise my hand. So right now we have, for students that have hearing loss or difficult hearing, we have tower systems, which are so antiquated now. So that sound lift system speaker, is that like an amplifying system?
Yes,
that a teacher can...
That's where the teacher wears.
Yep. Perfect.
Receiver on the ceiling. And
great.
That will also.
Great.
And that speaker gets. So the paging system.
Thank you.
So along these lines, sorry, for you to go to this. So we struggle in our buildings with cellular signal. All of our buildings, there are dead spots. In some of our buildings, the entire building is a dead spot. Is there anything in technology system?
No. Cellular repeater system not been included. That's a common thing that comes up. Usually it's almost like bi-directional. Similar setup. I don't want to say that, but that's not in.
Yep. Thank you.
Photovoltaic system. This also is not on the job, but the distribution system is sized to handle the maximum amount of photovoltaic you can put on the roof. oversize the switchboard bus, get a breaker on the building. We haven't looked at something that we'll have to develop as the design goes. We just did a very rough order of magnitude preliminary calculation of how much 250 kW, those are the numbers. Estimated discounted payback is not including utility rebates, may or may not be available. I know now the smart program's available, so I mean, if you added in the rebate, you'd probably cut that. Most, because of the cost. All purchasing. I don't know if you guys have any PAs right now. That's just estimated. This is also not based on the final rooftop layout, so it's just really preliminary what you expect to see on the roof.
Dave, that's just the electrical cost, right?
That's just the PV panels, inverters, wiring, conduits, and roof support. So not the structure of the building, but the racking system. Self-balanced.
So that doesn't include any of the GC's coordination or markup or anything like that, so we're probably closer to $1 million.
I wouldn't.
So with the PV then, so we didn't include that in any of our estimates, is that, it's not something we need to decide tonight, but it is something we'll need to decide before schematic design is over. So I'm not sure if there's an appetite for whatever that number ends up being, $850 to $1 million. The building will be PV ready, so it can be retrofitted at any time. So that's something we'll need a decision from you guys before the end of ST.
Any schools in the recent 5 years that have installed this, the PV system, in the area?
Yeah, we've done a few. We've done Needham Hillside.
Put them in themselves?
Yeah, they paid.
PPA afterwards? Or
No, they decided to purchase the.
Outside of the general contract?
No, they actually did it. There's a few. What we're seeing now.
What was the last one? You said Jayco before? Wait, you said this other place did.
Hillside. Oh, well, the second way to do it is a purchase agreement.
No, the first one did. I don't know, I thought you said Jayco before. I'm sorry.
I just mentioned a project that we did last year that purchased.
Okay.
City to Williams.
So we are doing another elementary school where they're going to do it through a power purchasing agreement. Not included in the contract project.
Then if that's an option, we should explore that and understand if we want to put infrastructure in this cost. Do the
Well, I think the infrastructure will be in that anyway.
already there.
Meaning there would be space in an electric room, there would be the extra structural
So the
capacity on the
electrical
roof.
actually now requires you to size the distribution panel. Accommodate the PV on the roof. Next step that we would take is to put conduits from that span breaker, sell them in a location where you from that up to the roof with some weather, so EPA comes in, you know, it's not going to come outside of your building and,
Right.
you know.
And Shane, you said the structure is currently estimated to carry the load.
The structure of steel, yeah.
So it's PV ready, but
Is what you said.
So that conduit and everything will be, is in this price?
yes.
All right. So we can add it at any time.
Adders include PV ready, which is they've already.
And I will say, with MSBA, they've been specifically excluding the cost of any PV panels, more as a convenience for them, because traditionally, when you got rebates and grants, the MSBA would then say, well, part of that rebate and grant that belongs to us, and they deduct that from your reimbursable. They haven't taken it out, so the town would get the full benefit of any of those grants. But obviously, you got to pay up front at your capital cost before you get the grants at the end, so MSBA won't reimburse.
So if there's no benefit into adding it in now, then why don't we just, and it's PV ready, why don't we just leave it out?
Yeah, I think we don't need to make a decision tonight, Pat. I think, I don't know what the town's position is. Sometimes, the reason we're doing it, that school I mentioned was Lincoln. They have a bylaw that you have to put PVs on the building, but they're going to bring somebody else in to do it. So I'm not sure, Mike, if the town has any sort of bylaw like that.
No, we're permissive, but we're not.
Let's say the course ready and gets the lottery and wants to donate solar panels, we won't turn them away.
But what you're saying, Shannon, there's an opportunity to lease the roof to like a power purchase agreement or something, right? At a later time? Yeah, so later on, the school district could do an RFP for lease the roof, right?
You just need to understand everything that goes along with that. And depending upon the way the PPA is written up, you may, if something ever happens to the roof, you're liable to pay for that energy that would be paid at that time, or depending upon how it's written up. So
On a new building, it's a little better. If you, for example, I won't say the city, but had an enormous they wanted to renovate that high school. $20 million. The panels, it avoided that, it breached their contract. They would have to remove, or they'd have to locate those panels somewhere else while they renovated that building, so it kind of eliminated their options. Pretty sure you wouldn't be renovating this.
this is the only time I would do it would be on a new building, but I would want to understand all the contingencies that go with it, and is the risk really worth it?
I agree.
You do this, John?
Oh, yeah, that's good. You can go on. One of the things that the committee had asked for when we had our lead meeting was of the optional issues that were on that lead assessment, what the value was and were you actually going to get anything for it other than goodwill. So we went through and we have ascertained that we do in fact meet the lead certification requirement from the MSBA. We do have the 40 to 49 points pretty comfortably. We're sitting somewhere between 51 and 53 points now, which would be lead silver. To get to gold, you got to go to 60 points. Of the items that were not in the estimate, that's what's listed in the next two bullet points, even if we added the low-hanging fruit, we wouldn't get to gold. The only way to get to gold is to put in something with the PV canopies in the parking lot or something with the geothermal. So we went through it point by point. We talked about the 2 EV charging stations. We get a point for that. That's about $18,000. There is an N-Grid grant that will reimburse some or all of that. There's a point available for advanced energy metering, which is metering different subsystems throughout the building. We estimated that to be about $15,000. The stormwater management, we had talked about the bio gardens and the concrete retention, all those fancy pictures that came out of that site. That's worth a point. You already have 2 of the 3. It's $450,000 for this bio retention. Talked about dual flush toilets. There's no points for that. It would cost $45,000 to install the toilets. Then we talked about the building flush out, which would get us 2 points, but there is a price tag associated with that because what it does is it forces you to have the building unoccupied for 2 months while you flush out the entire project. We estimate that to be about $250,000.
That's after furniture too, John, right?
Well, whatever state the building is in, you can't change it. Go in, you start everything, you run this flush out procedure, but you can't go in and out of the building, you can't open doors. It's a static building system. So, and there's an ability in the code you test out of it. Air test certain areas of the building. You don't have to flush the building out. However, they'll give you 2 lead points if you do flush it. The point being that if you have 53 now, take the first 2 easy, that's 55. The next 3 is 58. Next 2 is 60. Right on the line. May or may not get it, and you've spent somewhere in the area of $900,000 to do that. To go from silver to gold. To guarantee the gold, you have to do something like the PV canopies in the parking lots, which was in the $8.5 million range. Big structures with PV array on top. Or you have to go to geothermal, $3 million price tag. And our engineers estimated that at 32 wells, 650 feet around the perimeter of the building. You asked the question, this is the data. You are going to have a LEED certified building. You are probably going to have a LEED silver certified building. If you want gold, you better spend some serious money.
Question?
I just, it's really for the superintendent more than our folks. This building flush out needing 2 months unoccupied, it sounds like you plan on having extended school year back in there, so it wouldn't even make sense. We couldn't do it, right?
Well,
This is before you occupy.
yeah, before,
Oh, okay, just one-time thing, okay.
This extends the construction.
you thought it was annually?
I thought it was annually.
No, this is a one-time.
Okay, thank you.
So what's the 250 represent though? Is that general conditions?
General conditions, whatever it takes to.
It puts the project 2 months, potentially 2 months behind.
I think we should, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure I agree it's 2 months and $250,000. We can look at that further, but it's one we've done before and it's one we've skipped. We've done it before when under the old LEED certification when you had to get to silver because we needed the points. I think whether 250 in 2 months is right or not, maybe we don't need to spend the money because you're not gaining anything. I would recommend we take we take the charging stations, I would put in the advanced energy metering. I think that's a good way for to looking at your costs going forward. And then the other ones down below, I don't suggest we go for any of those. I don't think they're worth it. As John said, we're well over the certified anyway. I don't think MSBA just needs you to get certified. They don't give you any additional reimbursement because you get to silver or gold or platinum. They just need you to be certified. And I'm not sure that the town, as long as they have a LEED plaque on the wall, will really care whether it's certified silver, gold, or platinum either. Maybe wrong.
So Shane, I want to make sure I understand. You are recommending that targeted point?
Yeah, so we're meeting with the energy company on the 1st of May, I think it's next week. They emailed me on top of the rebate and incentive scheme we're going to review with them. They have another scheme where they'll give us a grant of up to $16,000 for every charging station we put in. So I'm going to be submitting that application next week. Regardless of whether we do this or not, I think we should submit that application. The application has to be in by the 29th of April. That's when it closes. But I think if they're going to give us 16,000 of it, I think it would be a good idea to do that one.
Just for, so somebody comes in, they plug their car in.
Mm-hmm.
Who gets the bill for the power used to charge that car?
Well, I think that's what we have to determine when we design this, because you can do it a number of different ways. You can have people have
Mr. Dutton has a great wireless parking company to talk to.
Sure.
All the meters downtown.
But I don't see the value. It's gone. In the rainwater management, we're getting some points for that anyway. I don't think we need to spend another $450,000 to get one more point when we're well into silver anyway. The 8.7 million, I don't think anybody wants to add that to our project budget for 2 lead points. The geothermal as well, another $3 million is certainly not worth it. Dual flush toilets, I think that's a maintenance thing. It's up to you guys. I wouldn't use the lead points on whether we do that or not. I don't know what the standards are in town. And then, as I said, the flush out, you can go either way. I don't think the flush out is something that we need to decide now,
test
right?
out. So the contractor has to perform the testing with the commissioning agent. Building has to pass. I've never been on one that didn't. So it's not something that's unattainable, very common. But you either flush the building out specified time, or you prove the building is.
I think, can you do air testing?
That's what it's an air testing.
Yeah.
They test volume, they test particulates. There's a whole regimen go through the test to prove that the building doesn't require flushing out. That process takes 2 weeks.
So I would say, perhaps we leave that in for now, or we investigate it more, because it's not going to make a difference to the design. It's just a line in the specification.
So you're going to investigate the charging station, advanced energy metering.
But I recommend we leave in the energy, the charging stations, the energy metering, and let's look at the flush out. Again, as we said, with the new lead requirement, because we're only certified, we're not chasing these points. And other school projects I've been on, when we had to get to silver, you're paying $250,000 for a flush out because MSB are going to give you a $1.5 million reimbursement if you get do it. We're not in that situation.
Any other questions? On communication report update.
Our website pages are being updated, and the newest FAQs are live on our website. Jan and Jean have reviewed them, and they notified MSBA and have not heard any comments back either way. So they are up for people to look at. The community is invited to attend our active workshop on Wednesday, May 8th, at the Bridgewater Senior Center from 1 to 2:30 p.m. At this workshop, the community will be able to provide comments and feedback on the approved schematic design for new elementary. And then on Thursday, June 13th, we are lecture hall from 7 to 8 p.m. It will be a public progress presentation. We are also presently working on a flyer to get out kindergarten orientation on May 8th. And the first newsletter for those who have signed up for one on our website will be going out in the very near future. If you have not signed up to receive one, please visit www.bridgewaterproject.com.
So I think on my PowerPoint, I had that May 8th meeting at 9 a.m. And I'll correct that for the one we upload to the website.
Questions? I had shared with the group weekend the rules and regulations that are governing this group. We never officially voted on those after review of our minutes. We need to. Did everybody get a chance to review those? Any questions, concerns? I did hear from John Garish, who had a couple of questions that I'll bring up. Email. So John had questions about letter C, the clerk. We had one, and Mrs. Holbrook fills that role. As we approve those, it's them to town as well as the removal of members, or letter. He is suggesting, actually, he was questioning as people drop off, he wanted to ensure that our quorum changed. It does. And then letter G, voting eligibility. So voting eligibility reads, any taxpayer of the town of Bridgewater except a permanent municipal employee of the town is eligible to be appointed to the building committee as a voting member. Other members not meeting this eligibility to vote shall serve with equal standing but may not vote. Voting members' membership on the Mitchell School Building Committee shall terminate forthwith upon the member ceasing to be a resident of the town. Unless otherwise noted, members shall serve without compensation on the committee role. And John is bringing to light, says taxpayer to qualify, but no longer a resident whose membership. Not sure this is incorrect. And resident not be. So basically, I think his point is you could be a taxpayer, but not actually live here. You could be a landlord.
Can I just address that, Michael?
Yeah.
Since that
you and I went back and forth, I don't know who drafted what, but limiting the membership to taxpayers is actually not constitutional.
Oh, okay.
You can limit to voters or residents, but you can't limit it to taxpayers.
Okay.
So that, we can change that. I think that helps with John's alternative.
That's perfect. So we'll make that resident?
But maintain the non-permanent employee.
Yes, that would change. So it would just say, instead of any taxpayer, it would say any resident. Okay. And then regarding section 3, the adoption of the Bridgewater volunteer handbook. All right, we have to do this. So this question is, this is more of a guideline than a rule. So I'll read the third paragraph. We can choose to take it out or no action on it. Careful preparation before meetings, organizing agenda items, distribution of information in advance, posting all information online, and anticipating possible questions can expedite discussions, facilitate action, and avoid long process. I feel like that statement more of a
goal. It's a nice thing to do.
It's not necessarily something.
It's not a rule we have to follow. I mean,
Guideline.
yeah.
Right. So I told John I would bring them up because he sent me his concerns, so I wanted to make sure I did that.
So would you want to strike it? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm okay with it being there.
Yeah. If there's, I mean, if it, I'm indifferent either way, but if there's no consequence for not following it, then
right.
You know, it's there.
It's there.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Anything else? Afterward,
And just go back to the voting eligibility. It says, so we're changing it to any resident of the town, except a permanent municipal employee of the town. What about an employee of the school district?
So we get it. We need to have that.
I feel like that's,
It's not really a municipal, because the district is a regional district. Is that what you're trying to state?
is that person considered an employee of the town?
Michael left. I would say no.
I would say they're an employee of the region.
Right.
The regional district, not the actual towns.
The town doesn't pay district pays.
So are you suggesting, Renee, that it should include that additional?
It was my understanding that anybody that's employed by the BR school district can't vote, but it doesn't say that in here.
That was my understanding too. That was my understanding too.
So you'd add in, or permanent, whatever employee of the regional school district.
If that's,
Is that what,
That's been my understanding for this committee. I mean, anybody who's employed by the school hasn't been able to vote.
and again, just because that's been practiced, I want to make sure, are you advocating we continue that, or are we okay with the way this,
I'm advocating that we continue that.
continue the practice?
I think
I'd go further.
that's just my feeling.
I'd go further and say we should codify it. And say, you know, basically, you can't have that perception of a conflict of interest between being a permanent town employee or a permanent school employee and voting on what your building is going to look like. That's just my suggestion. Not that anyone would have that conflict and wouldn't try to do the best for the town, but A lot of times the perception is what it is.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't I take a motion to approve these or have discussion on?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rushton is making a motion to end. If I could add resident. So it would read, a resident of the town of Bridgewater except permanent municipal employee of the town or of the Bridgewater-Rainham Regional School District is eligible to be appointed to the Mitchell School Building as a
Non-voting member?
God bless you.
permanent, yes. A resident of the town of Bridgewater except a permanent municipal employee of the town or Bridgewater Regional School eligible appointed to the Mitchell School Building.
I'll second that amendment.
Made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? None? Amended? And then we will take a vote on.
So did that cure the resident and taxpayer issue as well?
It did, yes. So Renee's motion changed taxpayer to resident. So now I will take a vote on the amended rules and guidelines, I should say. By Mrs. Holbrook. Actually, we just need to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, our rules and guidelines stand. Thank you all for that. Public comment? Seeing none. Our next meeting, as Shane has reported, is on May 7th. It's Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. in this very location.
No, so I think there's a conflict, so I got to confirm the location with Mike.
Oh,
It's gonna,
that is.
I think it's gonna be at council meeting.
Oh, that's right. We're in superintendent's conference at 166 Mount Prospect.
This is
That's right.
Tuesday, May 7th.
Tuesday, May 7th.
Is that the superintendent's
Yes.
conference? Yeah.
166 Mount Prospect Street in central office. Thank you. I forgot that we had that discussion last week. Anything else?
So I'll unlikely to be attending that.
Right. Yeah.
Just so
I would think.
just so we have it, as a note, and I don't have to remember to tell our secretary again.
Anything else? Pause. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.